Hello, it's me. It's June 18th, 2021. Yesterday, I went to I went to Utah Valley Hospital, and I got a liver biopsy, and it was one of the scariest things I've done so far, but still doable, not incredibly painful. I went with, on a scale, I would say, I'll just give it a score, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say pain 0, 1, and scary level, it was probably a 6, a little more than I would like, but I went with Kyle because you have to have someone to drive you to do a liver biopsy. And we went down to American Fork Hospital, and I was feeling good. You know, I always feel better when I have somebody with me, and it's nice to have someone to perform for, honestly. I went down, and I made them a theme song. I walked in the door of the surgery place singing my same day surgery theme song. And they got kicked out of that. But so we signed our stuff in, and we were filling out our forms, blah, blah, blah. It showed I owed them about $1,000 for treatment so far. And we've been doing this for like 2 weeks. So it's not awesome. Anyway, we got to figure out how to find some money. And yeah, so then they took me back to do some blood work. I have to check my blood. And then Kyle left because he didn't want to hang out for that. And so the nurse came in, and I came in, and the nurse poked my arm, which I don't love. And the more I know I'm going to go on, I think the more I'm going to not love it. But it is something that has to be done all the time. So anyway, she poked my arm. She has a hard time finding my vein, so she kind of pokes it in and then moves the needle around until she hits something. And I know what's going on. She doesn't say anything, but we both know what's going on. I'm just like, I don't know. That doesn't seem like a best practice, but what do I know? Anyways, I get her stuff, I get stuff, and I leave, and I go wait for a couple more minutes, and I write a little bit. And then they call me back for real, and they come and have me undressed, and I get into this papered gown and paper shorts, and then some weird socks. I don't really know why the socks, but socks have tread on the front of the sock and the back of the socks. You have socks on your full soles of your feet and also on the front of your feet, just in case you want to walk up the walls like Spider-Man. I actually have no idea. So anyway, doing that, and I get my stuff on, and they have me lay down on the bed, and then this nurse rolls in. She's this big nurse, and she like doesn't stand up. She just rolls in to my room, and she's talking, and she has this other nurse with her that's kind of wandering around and doing all that like leg work, like literally the leg work. And the big nurse is kind of directing the younger nurse, and she takes this thing off that the lady just took my blood off, and she's like, oh, that's still bleeding. I'm gonna go ahead and put that here. I'll try somewhere else. So she tries the same arm. She just tries a different vein, and she's like, that's not working either. It's probably because you've been fasting, because you have to fast for this one, for liver biopsy. And so she says, this always happens with women. Women who are fasting, you try to poke them, and their veins just curl up. And Kyle's like, I told him later, and he's like, it's because all white women are full of snakes. And I was like, That's probably true. And maybe it's not just white women. Maybe all women are full of snakes. That's what we feed the snakes. So when we're fasting, the snakes come out. And so then she went to the other arm, and the other arm was working fine. So anyway, I've got, like, I don't know if you can see it, but I've got this terrible bruise where this woman just, like, jammed me and then just, like, trying to figure out where it is. And I have another bruise right here. She tried to put it in again. This one isn't so bad. That looks like it worked well, but that one's pretty ugly. So, anyhow. So, they hooked me up to the IV. They asked me a million questions about everything in the world. How's your bladder? When's the last time you pooped? How's your whatever? How, what size shoe do you wear? What color of your eyes? What's your favorite ice cream? I don't know. They don't ask me all those things, but they asked me a million questions when I'm sitting there. And it's a surgery, so it's a surgery. They asked me all the things I'm allergic to. And I'm allergic to one thing. I'm allergic to sulfa drugs, so that's it. And the doctor comes in, the surgeon, and he's like, hello, I'm going to surgery to you today. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, would you like to have anesthetic? And I was like, yes, I would. And I was like, do people not do this with anesthetic? He's like, well, sometimes people don't want to use the gas, right? The anesthetic gas. And, it just depends on who you are. If you have a really high pain tolerance or if you really want to be doing something else today. And I'm like, well, I really want to go see my daughter do her circus camp performance, which was today or yesterday. But I'll just do it because it's probably wise. Sorry, my eyes are all kind of like groggy because I've been sleeping. Anyway, okay. So I signed the release form that says, yes, you can give me drugs. And yes, you've told me that some bad things could happen if things go wrong. Like bleeding. And they asked me like 1,000 times if I'm on blood thinners. No, I'm not. I don't take any medication, you guys. So, then finally they wheel me down into the room. Blah, 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 blah. I go down to a CT room, and because it's a CT guided biopsy, I have to have like sticky things here and here, and then I have things up my nose, calendulas in my nose for oxygen, and one that has gas in it. And then I have my IV in, and I'm all like wired from head to whatever. And then they take my shirt up and they're like, okay, we're going to do surgery pretty soon. And I'm like, all right. So they do some kind of baseline CT scans. And there's a CT scan machine, which looks like a huge donut. And you lay down in it. And then you lay down it. Here's the donut. And here's you. And you go. But they scan you like a printer. Like that. And on the top of where you're sitting, like where your eyeballs are, right up here. There's right here. There's a little guy. There's a little man, and he's going this. He's breathing out. You can see like his breaths. And then there's another guy next to him where he's going. So they're very happy little men. One of them tells you when to breathe, and one of them tells you when to not breathe. And for the CT scan, you go in and then the little guy who's smiling and breathing will flicker, and then it'll go, don't breathe. And then you don't breathe. And the lady said, I don't want you to do anything weird. Don't hold your breath or something dumb. Just stop breathing. So that's what I did. So I'm doing that, and then I'm looking at the scan. I can see my scan when it comes out. I can see my whole body, which actually looks pretty good, right? I can see like all of my fat laying on top of my muscle. I can see my boobs. I can see my intestines. I can see all this other stuff. And of course, there's these big spots. There's spots on my liver. When they do the other one, I can see there's spots on my breast. And so I'm like, that's the problem. I And then she says, okay, well, we're gonna get out of contrast because I just want to get some better pictures. And so there's this like gun that's over here on my side here. It's like a contrast gun. Anyway, it's this thing. It's all automated. Everything is like super high tech. And she's like, all right, here goes. I'm gonna put you in. So I'm gonna little guys like the little pictures, breathe and don't breathe. And then of course there's like a sound that's like, breathe, don't breathe. You know, like breathe, don't breathe. It's so weird. It's like being in the future. And then she's like, all right, and they aid the contrast. So I hear it go, and then my arm gets like cold, and I'm like, oh, okay. She says, okay, you're gonna feel a warm rush, and then it might feel like you have to pee. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I feel a warm rush inside of my body, and I'm like, oh, there it is. It's definitely warm. And it feels like I am peeing my pants. It doesn't feel like I have to pee. It feels like I am currently peeing my pants. And I'm like, I hope I'm not, because I can't tell. But then it gets hotter and hotter and hotter. And my whole body is so hot. It's so hot from the inside. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm having a hot flash. This is so awful. And then it gets hotter, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna burn up from the inside out. And then breathe, don't breathe. And I'm like, ooh, because I'm like freaking out. I'm like, and it's like, I know it's gonna be like, don't breathe. And I'm like, okay, ooh, I'm really, really hot. And then I feel like I'm gonna explode, but I don't. So that was good. And then they're done, and I can see, the scans, and the doctor comes in. All right, go ahead and make a marker right there. And she's like, okay. So they draw a line where they're gonna cut me open, and then, and at this point, I'm just like, I'm not so hot anymore, and I'm also like, oh, I'm gonna have someone cut me open now. I don't know. So he does it. I can't feel anything. And then he shoots a little biopsy thing inside, but I can't feel anything anyway. And my brain probably is pretty fuzzy from, I'm assuming that my brain is fuzzy from the drugs. I don't know. But I don't feel anything. I'm definitely awake though. And then I don't have enough like active intention of mind to look at the scan, because I know that if I see, in retrospect, I wish I had looked at the scan so I could watch the biopsy thing going in, because that would have been so cool. But I was just like totally zoned out. And then he's like, all right, well, you're done. I was like, okay. And that was it. They took me back up, and they had me lay down, and they watched me for about an hour to make sure I wouldn't bleed or anything. And after that, they said I can go home. Except that I couldn't actually go home. They said they had to release me to another human. So because I had fentanyl and something else, I can't remember, that I had to go, and I had to have someone take me home. I couldn't drive, and I knew I couldn't drive, but I was like, I just need to go get some food. I'm not really hungry. And she's like, no, I'm sorry, we'll have to wait until your husband's here. So anyway, waited till Kyle was there. That's what I did, and it was very interesting, and yeah, very interesting. I keep trying to be, I don't know, I want to do this the best way that I can, right? I want to do cancer the best way I can. And I'm like, what is that? I want to do it well. I want to be kind. I want to do it fun if possible, although there are a lot more people who do a lot more fun than I do. I don't know that I want to have a titty ta-ta party. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not really I don't think that that's like really me. I don't want to make light of everything. I just want it to be lighter. And I want it to be fun for me and for everybody around. We'll see how that goes. So, anyway, yeah, that's all.